Alrighty, folks, we're going to do a 2-part series inside one video. We're going to go through and review this amazing 5-unit deal that Cody just closed on. We referenced it about a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, but we don't talk details until the ink is dry. Guess what? The ink is dry. Also, we are going to do a part 2 inside this video where we understand Cody is just about to be married. He is roughly 3 months away from being married. We're going to talk to an old guy, me, about 30 years of being marriage, and give some advice, some questions, and just go through that. So, Cody, first and foremost, congrats on the upcoming nuptials, but let's go to the 5-unit first. What's going on there?
Yeah, I closed that, so I'm super stoked about it, and that was a pretty creative one. I ended up getting a bank loan, so Mr. Conventional now.
Yeah, oh my God, he got a bank loan. Write it down.
Yeah, 75% loan to value on the purchase from Umpqua Bank. And this is a commercial loan. So it's fixed for 10 years. I got 7.25% interest rate, 30-year AM, 10-year call. And so very happy.
So hold on.
That.
So let me ask some questions, because again, you don't do a lot of conventional. So let's just break this down for the folks. So you find what was it again? What bank? Umpqua? Umpqua Bank. All right. Local bank. You go in there and you bring them the deal, right? The 5-unit complex, the contract probably. You probably have to bring them your financial statement, maybe your tax returns, all of those things to get this 75% LTV loan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So very standard. All right.
So they're underwriting me. They just want to make sure that I'm a credible person and what I say I've done. That's all they wanted.
Fair enough.
So then they were looking at the deal, and my philosophy on deals is if I can get a great return with 25% down, I can get an even better return with 10% down. Mm-hmm. So what's creative about Umpqua is they have conventional rates, but they allow seller finance seconds. So I asked the seller, I was like, hey, would you consider holding a second for 25% of the purchase? They said, we really want you to put a little bit of money down. And that little bit for them was 10%.
Okay.
I was like, okay, I could do the 10%. But how could I do it without the 10%? And so basically it was Umpqua for 75%, seller second mortgage at 15%. And I brought in a buddy who really wanted to get into real estate. He has some money saved up, known him for a little bit. He's my age, and he funded the 10% down in renovations.
And renovations.
And renovations. And I got paid a commission. So I got paid to buy this deal.
And then just so we're clear on this, you gave up 50% ownership?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 50-50 split, no money down. In fact, you got paid to buy it because you got your commission. You've also have, I'll call it a reserves for upcoming repairs or remodels, right? That was your buddy. So far, it's a very, very creative deal. 50% owner, no money down, actually got paid.
And with all that leverage, we still cash flow day one with margin. We have a 1.2. We have a 1.2 debt coverage ratio, which is what was required by the bank to get the high leverage. And what's really wonderful about it is we're not keeping it as a 5-plex. It's one thing to buy something, but to buy it with the intention of turning it into something better, it is how I try and create
This
equity.
is what makes you unique, because people hear your story and all they hear is risk, 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 risk. Yeah. Again, you've said it. We'll say it again. You always buy with the idea of how can I double? Right? How can I take this from a 1.2 to a 2 perhaps? And in this case, the 5-plex is perfect Cody work, right? You bought it as a 5, underwrote it as a 5, but it won't be a 5 in very short order.
No. So what I ended up doing, I'm going to be able to turn it into a 9-plex pretty easily. But I went to the tenants because there's some really big units. Some of the units are 800 square feet. Some are 2,400. And I was like,
oh my God.
2,400 is divisible by 800. So that's 3 units right there. And it used to be more units. The prior owner shrunk it down because they wanted to live in these massive spaces while they worked out of there. And so I'm planning on turning it back to what it used to be. That's my intent. And so I saw it was on the market for 283 days, ended up buying it. And I'm going to be able to grow the rent roll conservatively before year end by $3,000 a month. And I'm guessing.
And so again, by year end, meaning 6 months, you're going to grow the rent roll by 3,000, not to 3,000, grow it by 3,000.
Exactly. So because right now the units that are there are rented very low for the space they're living in.
Sure.
And rather than just kicking the tenants out, they know they have a great deal. I reached out and said, hey, look, instead of moving, what if we, depending on the unit they're in, what if we keep your rent the same because they were so low? Or what if I lower your rent by $100, $200? And I'm just going to chop this portion of your unit out. You don't have to move. We'll sign a long-term lease. Don't worry about your rent going up. We'll do whatever you want. But that allows me to keep the income and actually have more rentable space. So that way I don't have my biggest expense other than CapEx, which is vacancy. So,
and the turnover. I mean, losing losing a tenant that's paying whatever in a big unit, but finding a way to keep them and signing a long-term lease, that's just win-win for everybody.
Right. So the beauty of this is my total mortgage between the two, like the seller financed and the bank loan, is about $2,650.
Okay.
And so you figure if I'm getting an extra $3,000 a month of net rent, what does that do to my debt coverage ratio?
Yeah, I mean, you've gone from 1.2 to over 2 easily.
Right. Absolutely. And so it becomes a cash cow where I'm cash flowing about $40,000 and change a year on a $43,000 down payment and a $25,000 worth of renovations to get it there.
Yeah. So just be clear, when you say it's cash flowing 40 grand, you divide by 2 for your portion.
Yeah. But I've got nothing invested. I mean, I'm already at infinite return, but the way I'm looking at it is
the asset itself is producing 40 grand.
Because for the person that wanted to put money in, where's the money going? What's it backed by? And how are they getting paid back? They see I put about 70 out and 40 plus net comes back in per year. That's huge. So on that one, we have a buyer lined up who would be interested in buying it for 800, bought it for 430.
Wow.
And that buyer has bought from me before. So I know they can close and I know they're good for it. But we're going to weigh the options of selling it and 1031ing into a new asset because there'd be enough equity to buy a brand new 7-plex that cash flows about the same.
Yeah, for sure.
Or just refinancing it, pulling out 100% of the initial investment plus a little more, get my buddy his money back, and then rinse and repeat and find the next deal and try and hold it for that long term.
You know what, Cody? It just sucks to have great options. Just both those options clearly suck. I'm kidding, of course.
Yeah. But that's why you got to be intentional about buying these deals. Because if you're intentional, equity happens and cash flow. If you buy it for cash flow, you get to wait for that to happen.
Yeah, you got a lot of options. If you're holding for cash flow, you don't have that time pressure. So that's an amazing thing. I guess one of the things I want to ask before we move on to the marriage portion of this conversation is this property was listed for 210 days. Why did everybody miss it? I mean, nobody else saw what you saw. What's the deal? Do you got special X-ray vision or what?
Well, 283 days, not 210. And when I'm looking at something, I just try and find inefficiencies. And if I see an 800 square foot unit that's rented for the exact same amount as a 2,400 square foot unit,
so that's a sign. That's a signal.
At the very least, it's a sign. Yeah. So it's an indication that, hey, this big unit's either trash or the little unit's the Taj Mahal, or they're not managing it very well.
Yeah, good point.
And so it at least merits a deeper dive. And so I took
now,
a
question
look at
for
it.
you. Question: was that obvious in the listings? Like sometimes when you see these commercial listings, they list the rents and the square footage. Like, was that obvious to you in the listing, or did you have to walk the property to find that out?
Well, they had no interior photos in their listing. They had 2 exterior, and they're basically the same photo. So that was not doing it justice to the seller. However, it did list the square footages. It did list the rents. It did list the cost. So all the information you'd really need to make that assessment was in plain sight. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Again, looking for inefficiencies. This is just a gift you have. You talk about this like it's just, black and white and easy, but it's so easy to miss. And this is what makes you good at what you do. And it's fun for me to watch and live vicariously through what you're doing. So congratulations.
I appreciate that. And to the extent people can start to see those things, it just goes back to asking the question, how could I make it work? Well, what can I find that other people can't find? Where's Waldo? Right. And
Yeah.
find Waldo and make it happen.
I love that. I love that. Well, let's talk about marriage again. You're 25. Your lovely fiance is 29, getting married in just about 3 months. Probably some butterflies, in the stomach. What you want to ask me a couple of questions? I got 30 plus years of marriage on me, and good, bad, and different. You want to ask anything?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you've been together for 30 years, you've probably overcome the things you've done wrong, and you've done a lot of things right. How do you guys handle, I guess first we'll jump into the hardships. When something goes wrong, how do you guys address it?
So again, this is where I was weak in the beginning for sure, and I had to learn these lessons. But there's nothing better than over communicating, right? As I was raised in an environment where the guy kind of like tries to take on everything themselves and not complain, and all of that. And when you're in a relationship with someone who loves you and cares for you and sees that you're struggling, sometimes you gotta talk it out. You got to be clear and communicate. You got to be vulnerable. Not everybody has good days all the time. There will always be fights or disagreements. I think there's a lot to be said for not going to bed angry, right? Just dealing with it now versus letting it fester. One thing I would also recommend is setting up a date night, especially before you have kids and even after you have kids. One of the fondest memories I have of our 15-year journey where we were sacrificing is we didn't give up on our Friday night sushi dinners, right? That was done as a family with our daughter. But I can still look back at those as some of the most wonderful conversations and experiences because it was something we all counted on, right? Even Teresa knew it was coming because it was Friday and Dad was home. Little things like that. If you were to have kids, the one thing I would tell you is hug them more. One of my worst regrets, and it still hurts to admit this, is I was so busy trying to build a career and make money for the family. I was gone so much. And, you can only hug your kids, like full bear hug them until they're about 10 or 11 years old. Then you get the like one arm hug, and then you get like, get away from me. But those are some things that jump out at me. I would also say money. It was never a problem with Olivia and I, but having had other friends struggle with this, talk about money, right? Because not everybody has the same investing and spending habits. Not everybody has the same goals. There's nothing wrong with over communicating.
Yeah, I think our second date we were talking about our credit card debts because we've been talking about
there you go. That's nice.
But a concern I've seen from people is they're always working towards something, and then they get to the end. And this example, they're working towards retirement, their kids leave the house, and now they don't have anything to work towards. I imagine you guys are at a point where you don't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
How do you establish the next thing? Because if you're not growing together, you're growing apart, is what I've heard.
Yeah, it's funny. You have to actually find something that is solely yours and still be together. Like one of the biggest things for me, because Olivia retired first. So I think Olivia retired in 2014 or 15. And she just slid into retirement like it was a sleeping bag. Like she was made for it. She started doing artwork and she started volunteering and she was happy. It was like, she was ready for it. My retirement came out of nowhere. I had planned to work an extra 5 years because I loved what I did. One day it was there and one day it was gone. I didn't have that. My thing in the retirement was actually getting depressed because I didn't have a thing. And I was envious, right? Olivia made it look easy. Like she was never more happy for years, right? She was out for at least 3 years, if not 4 years. And she was happy. And I'm retired now and I'm up and miserable, like getting physically depressed and just, it was horrible. So I had to find something that was solely mine, which obviously became this movement book channel. But it's only about 2 or 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, but it's enough for me to feel like I'm contributing. Like Olivia really doesn't do anything. The only thing she does is she shows up to the Vegas event. She's not on video. She doesn't do any of the research. She's like, frankly, she's not even out of her bed till 10 a.m. and I'm basically done by 10 a.m. So you're definitely going to have your own thing, But then Olivia and I, everything else we do together, right? We go out to eat together, we work out together, we travel together, we talk about the next thing. So I think the one thing about marriage is you are married, you are, bound together, but you're still a human being, right? You're still Cody, and she is still, forgive me, I don't know her name. She is still her, Ashley.
Yeah.
And you can't lose that. You can't lose yourself in the marriage. And I've seen people do that, and it doesn't end well. It usually blows up. So have your thing.
Okay. So it basically, the things you mentioned you do together and the things you do by yourself are both just the pursuit of further growth. Like you guys are going to the gym together, going on walks, going out and about, and then you're building the channel, you're helping people. It's all
still, you have to have a mission. Yeah. I tried the whole bonbons and play golf and all of that. It's like, no, as a human being, I think you have to grow or you die. And that's why I think a lot of people that work until they're 65 or 70 and then they retire and they're dead in a year because they don't have a thing. So always have that thing, whatever that thing is.
I like that. Yeah. We definitely talked about the finance stuff, and we like to work out and continue growing. We have a lot of goals right now, but I'm sure as time goes on and we hit some of those goals, we're going to have to do some exploration and figure out what the next thing is.
Yeah. Yeah. You always got to, one thing, I remember one thing I did, I found this after I retired. I think this had to be 20 years ago, before we had any money. We were basically broke. Olivia and I created a top 10 list of places we wanted to visit, like full on dream wish list. And that was a lot of fun. It was like you go, I go, right? And she got 5 and you got 5. And it was fun to put that on paper. I saved it and I found it like 5 years ago. And I think at that time we crossed off 4 or 5 of them.
Wow.
But we actively went out and went after the last 5 because they were that important to us. And I think I got such a kick out of crossing off that, that just scratch piece of paper. That was fun. That was a good experience.
And the last question I guess I'll share on here is, if there was one thing you would prioritize most, like maybe not just the communication piece, because you touched on that, but like the one thing all people getting married should really prioritize to do once they get married, what would it be?
So we're not going to talk. I guess be honest, right? Because there's still, we're all humans. We learn to hide our feelings or coach them in different things. And if you're in a marriage, there's no reason you can't just be black and white, right? Don't try to sugarcoat things. Don't try to tell them the best story, right? The best truthful story. Just put it out how it is, right? With all the ugliness. It's just more efficient, and they often see through that. Don't hide anything. I think a lot of things go when you start hiding things, either surprise expenses or, friends that she or you don't like, or, just don't hide anything. It's not worth it. Those couple of things jump out to me.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I got about 30 years to get to 30 years, but I guess.
Yeah. Well, if I know anything about you, you'll be just fine. You'll be just fine. So good for you.
Appreciate it.
Well, folks, Cody is getting married. If you've been married for any length of time, or you've got married and divorced and you want to put your advice in the comments, go ahead and put comments below. I'm sure Cody will take a look, and be nice, be kind, be positive. Don't be a jerk. But let's give Cody some advice and tell him congratulations. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.